on July 5th, 2024, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted in the official Township Bulletin Board and the Upper Township website, emailed to the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting and will be available on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement be made part of the minutes of this meeting. Please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Corson?
Present.
Mrs. Hayes? Here. Mr. Knappen is absent. Mr. Pankos?
Here.
Mayor Newman?
Here. Committeeman Knappen has a family medical situation going on, so he will not be here this evening. Okay, can I have your pleasure on the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from June 24th, 2024 meeting and closed session. Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes? Mr. Pankos?
Yes.
Mayor Newman?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Let's go with the governing body members and we'll.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So we had a very successful 4th of July event this past Wednesday. I just wanted to say a couple thank yous for that, especially to our Department of Public Works, particularly Larry Cole, who's our special events coordinator, for all of his efforts leading up to it. Our buildings and grounds crew for the efforts they put into prepping the area and also the cleanup afterwards. All of the employees that gave up their 4th of July holiday with their families so that the community can have a great celebration. I'd also like to thank our Division of EMS for all their support. Tuckahoe, Memora, and Seaville Fire also there and supporting the state police and also the Cape May County Sheriff's Department. I would also like to very, very happily announce that the Senior Center air conditioning has been fully replaced and it will be open for business tomorrow, which is great news. Everyone knows that we've been struggling with this system for a number of years. Our diligence in trying to prolong installing the new system has paid off. We were able to get a grant for $61,000 to pay for 61 of the $68,000 to replace that system. So I'd like to thank particularly Mr. Jones for his efforts on that, our administrator, and also our CFO with their work to be able to do that under an emergency status to get it done as quick as possible once we got word that the grant was going to be approved. And that is all I have this evening.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo the sentiments from Deputy Mayor Hayes, congratulating our Public Works Department, our OEM, for having a successful event at 4th of July. And I would also like to thank the Deputy Mayor as well for spearheading that event. So I think from what I've heard, everybody had a great time there. I was stuck over in the city dealing with that. But again, thanks for a successful event. That's all I have.
Curtis.
I don't have too much. I just want to report that the 4th of July parade went almost flawless. About 20 minutes before the parade, there was an alarm, and all the fire trucks headed out. Turned out to be Batesville with a false alarm, and they got turned around and came back and made it back to the parade. So that was quite interesting, and I believe it's been quite a few years since that's happened.
Yes.
It was probably one of the larger parades I remember. It was a huge crowd of people. And the traffic was horrible all weekend, as most of us know. And I don't think there was another person, panicked. It was incredible. It was a good weekend. And I think we have a minimum calls, which is a good thing. So that's all I have to report this time. And our lifeguard race is actually starting tonight with the first race, and I think that's in North Wildwood tonight. The Crest? Wildwood Crest, okay. And tomorrow night is the women's race, I believe, in Benton. So.
Very good. I talked to Chief Haley. He guaranteed several wins this year. Vegas is running a line on that or not, but that's the way it is. Also, over a couple of 4th of July things and some things that happened before 4th of July. First of all, the kids, we had our kids camp. This is, I think, the 3rd year for that, Chief Coker. 3rd year for that. Highly successful. operation. I think we had 30 kids there, 29 kids, which is, it's a challenging camp, and it's more for, we try to get as many kids as we can. We reach out to some kids that might be underprivileged, I don't even know what the word is for today, to pair them off with some kids, we work with the schools, pair them off with some kids that have,
At-risk youth.
the at-risk, there you go, and might be, not be as at-risk. And they can see what happens, and they do a lot of neat and cool things, and they play it by ear, and they get to do a lot of items that are very, very beneficial to them, not only now, but also in the future. It's done for free through donations, through donations of services, so there's no charge for the kids, and through Cape Assist. Is that who we have? Cape Assist, who helps us out with counselors, as well as the Upper Township Division of EMS, the fire, all the volunteer fire companies in the township do the same thing. And once again, we're in the middle of our particular production. We had a call and had to leave, but that's what happens at times. I also want to point out that I was obviously participated in a lot of these 4th of July events over many years, through the firehouse and through being on township committee. It is phenomenal. For example, the parade in Strathmere, there were so many people there. It was beyond belief. There wasn't a parking spot to be found, and I'll give a big shout out to our parking crew. Parking crews there, they did the best they possibly could under extremely trying circumstances, and that's the way it is. And riding back through Ocean City to get back to the mainland, there's just, I mean, when you're on Bay Avenue and every spot's taken, I mean, you can't even park a bicycle. I'm sure Seattle was the same way. So, just unbelievable. And as everybody else pointed out, the event at the Mandus Field on the 4th of July was probably one. I've been to every one of those for 100 years as well. Probably one of the better ones I've been to, and I'm going to say why. Because first of all, the weather was great. There was just enough wind to keep the bugs down. So you didn't have any bugs. There was a lot of people there. It was our fire and EMS crews and public works, just a phenomenal job. And you know, there were several incidents. All of them appeared to be minor throughout the thing. Maybe kids with cut foots and feet, and you know, kids running around barefoot. It was just a great township event, and there was plenty of vendors there, plenty of things to do, and it really worked out good. So shout out to Larry, and then tribute to you, Deputy Mayor Hayes. So that's where we're at there. Other than that, it really wasn't emergency-wise a busy weekend. I mean, I think we had a couple calls, and EMS just usually runs multiples, but nothing of significance for Upper Township, which is always good for us. But we were ready. Crews were all ready to go. That's why they're better have them there and not needed, and have them needed and not there. So it worked out. Gary.
Mayor, thank you. Just to follow up on your public safety theme, the New Jersey State Police is your police department. So to call me after the boat has sunk does nothing for us that the police department cannot identify, cannot do their diligence relative to finding out what happened. So case in point, the mayor had alluded to it, and Commissioner Committee with the courts, same thing with the fires on the beach. Right, so fires on the beach are great. Somebody has to clean them up after the fire has been put out. There's large holes, there's burning embers, there's nothing but debris. It's one of those reasons why we don't allow the fire pits or the fire on the beach. The LIRG grant was fantastic. It was something that we had identified prior to the system failure. The same is with the direct install. So the City Hall does not have central air or the air conditioning systems. And that's a $300,000 replacement through the diligence of Public Works or the engineering department. we have applied for direct install, which basically pays but for a fraction of the cost of the replacements. So if we get that, that's not even until then. So what Public Works did with the contractors and what Ms. Flutie did with the finance office and the clerk's office, all moving this ball forward, we'll be able to get the seniors back, I believe, sometime this week, if not tomorrow. Okay, say it tomorrow. So thank you so much. The other issue that we've been getting is the tax bills. The school had changed their levy, and they have just submitted it to the county, so we can't put out the tax bills until the final levy. Is that correct, Lana? So if there's a need be, I think Joanne, we're allowed an extension,
Yes.
right? So if need be, then we'll put up something to the board for an extension, so we can get those tax bills. Not that everybody's waiting for their tax bill, but unfortunate that they are coming. You're going to hear about the stormwater pump project. So that's about 90% done now. And so any of those renovations type of systems, what we do is we start the pumps up and then we look for holes. We plug a hole and we fix a hole, and we watch the water come back in until we identify another hole. So there is a deficiency at one of the pump stations, and we're hoping to address that this week, and then we'll see if it resolves the problem, we can move forward. Living Shoreline, you'll hear about that. We struck a date for that commitment in Corson, and I think it's going to be a hybrid meeting, so we'll move that forward sometime mid-month. So that's all I have for you there.
Joanne,
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Monzo.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just want to address a comment that was made at the last committee meeting. Specifically, there was an accusation that the Township Committee acted illegally in connection with the BL England site and in its negotiations with Ørsted. The process that was undertaken throughout that was totally transparent and was in complete compliance with all of the applicable laws. The Township Committee appointed a subcommittee with 2 members of the governing body along with professionals to handle the negotiations with Ørsted. That was permitted by state statutes as well as by the Township ordinance. The negotiations did not include any method by which the power would be generated, but only pertained to the site development and the impact that that would have on the township residents. These negotiations never materialized into any binding agreement, and ultimately Ørsted decided to abandon the project. Furthermore, all the discussions that took place with the subcommittee and representatives from Ørsted were through hired attorneys and professionals, and were brought to the full attention of the committee throughout the process at various closed session meetings. And the direction that was being given to the subcommittee with respect to those negotiations were with the full consent of the entire governing body. So in conclusion, in the statements that were made, that there is somehow illegal conduct that's being investigated by the Attorney General are totally false and have no basis in fact, to my knowledge, based on everything I've seen. So I just wanted to get that out there because that was kind of left as an open issue as a result of the last meeting.
Okay, anything else? Anything else, Tony?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Barbara? All right, Ryan, you got the spotlight now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Gary mentioned, I'll start off with the Strathmere Stormwater Pump Project. As he said, we are essentially 90% complete. Pump station at Putnam and Webster are fully operational at this time. Tomorrow, Public Works is going to be installing a check valve at the Sumner pump station to ensure the tides don't backflow back into the system, so it will function properly. So that should be completed tomorrow, and hopefully within the next couple of days that is entirely functioning the right way.
I can tell you, 8 days ago, Sunday morning, or Saturday night and Sunday, we had 6 inches of rain.
No.
I would say within a half hour, Bayview was dry.
Yeah, and that's the goal, is the runoff is gonna be there, it's just now pushing it out quicker to the bay through the pump stations. So yeah, like I said, Sumner this week should be fully operational.
Commonwealth was by the trailer park there, that was the only place I saw a problem, and that resolved itself by the end of the day. It was a good thing the storm, I guess it's kind of a great thing, the storm came low tide, which was a huge plus.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to hear. The next one up is paving program. Some more good news there. I know mill and overlay work started today. So they're out throughout the township. They're starting in the northeast area of the township and then making their way southwest. And should be completed with all the mill and overlays within 4 to 6 weeks. And then after that, they would complete striping as well as during the mill and overlay, some inlet reconstruction as well. Another one Gary mentioned, living shoreline. As we discussed at previous meetings, we're proceeding with setting up a subcommittee for the living shoreline project. We have that first meeting scheduled for July 19th with Strathmere Fishing Environmental Club as well as ACT Engineers. Next one up, county open space grant application. So we're working on resubmitting revised plans over the next 2 weeks to the county for the skate park improvements. And the last one I had for today was municipal aid grant applications. We were able to submit those prior to the July 1st deadline for roadway reconstruction, bikeways, and sidewalks near the elementary and middle school. So yeah, that's all I have for tonight.
That's good, that's enough. That's good, good, thank you. Joanne?
All consent agenda items listed below are routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. If the mayor or any committee member wishes a particular agenda item to be considered separately, they will be removed from the consent agenda and acted on separately.
Move to adopt the consent agenda items number 1 through 21.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Pankos? Mayor Newman?
Yes.
Motion carried. Under ordinances, we have the public hearing and final adoption of ordinance number 12, 2024, bond ordinance authorizing the completion of various capital improvements and the acquisition of various pieces of capital equipment in and for the Township of Upper, County of Cape May, New Jersey, appropriating the sum of $3,700,000 therefore, authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds or bond anticipation notes of the Township of Upper, County of Cape May, New Jersey, in the aggregate principal amount of up to $3,515,000, making certain determinations and covenants, and authorizing certain related actions in connection with the foregoing.
Okay, anything from Mr. Monzo on this?
I'll defer to Gary on this, but I just want to remind the committee that this ordinance requires 4 votes. It's supermajority regardless of the number of committee people voting, so all 4 members would have to vote for it for final adoption.
Gary?
I was working with Barbara. Barbara has a rating installed, so we're hoping to get that rating back up with the surplus that we've put in place, with the good payment, with the strategy of taking these vans and making it permanent finance. So between Barbara and bond counsel, that's been where we were the last 3 weeks or so, the constant phone calls and the negotiation relative to putting these together. Again, committee courses will tell you that this is just a large tractor at this point. And any appropriation on this particular capital bond purchases have to go in front of the board for release as well. And so we put it up there on the screen. We have a couple of different extra copies here if anybody wants a couple extra copies. But all the board members have a breakdown where that 3.7 comes from.
Anybody from the committee? Mark? Pankos? Anything?
No, I know there was a couple of big purchases through Public Works on here, but a lot of these items are backordered. They're the lead time needed for these, like the new trash truck is 2 years out to get these things. So the planning has to be there, I guess is what I'm saying. This is a well thought out bond ordinance, I believe. and the things that are on here are desperately needed for the safety of the public and our employees. So I'm definitely for it.
Kim?
A couple things on the recreation thing. So the Amanda Field skate park improvement, we have to have our matching funds available when we submit the application in a few weeks. Also, the resurfacing at Amanda Field and Caldwell Park, that was, actually, we were trying to do that through the road paving program, but with the cost of everything that has gone up significantly, those projects had to be cut, so this is revisiting that, to improve those tennis/pickleball courts, at Caldwell Park, the basketball courts, repaving those as well, which are in pretty dire need at this point.
Let me just throw that in there to support that, Deputy Mayor. One of the items on there are the HVAC replacement township hall, and that's one of those matches. And so if we were to fund that complete, that would be over $300,000. So we're hoping to get the direct install grant program, and then our matching fund would be there.
Yeah, I believe the skate park is about 500,000 total.
Yep, exactly.
I'll go next, because I'm under finance, and I'll let you go to the other side. You're the finance guy. There's some things in there for EMS, and to reiterate what Mark says, we're on a 5 to 10 year program for replacing ambulances, but the lead time to get the product is tremendous, and to even go out for a bid on it, we have to have the money available, or available to spend, or the township financial officer cannot order. We cannot allow it to happen. So, and some of the other stuff in here is for replacement of repeaters, 4 or 5 repeaters, and that is they're probably going on 15 to 20 years old. They're way past their useful life, and it's time to do that. And once again, there's a little bit of lead time on those as well. So. And that's done under the OEM portion of the budget. And there's just about every department, every area in the township's covered a lot of these grants, so it's pretty not widespread, but all encompassing. That's probably a better word. And I'll turn it over to Curtis for because he's the finance guy.
Just want to reiterate what Gary said. I mean, just because we approved this capital bond purchase, that allows us to spend the money. But the money will not be spent until it comes back to township committee, and obviously there's going to be bids for this stuff. Some of this stuff is the automated trash truck, just number 1 on the list. I mean, it's 425. I mean, hopefully it comes in less. But, and every item will be voted on individually, and some of this stuff is the lead time is 2-3 years on it, so we have to be a little proactive.
And of course, as you can see on the exactly your point, the replacement of the senior center. So that amount might be reappropriated, but won't be spent. So
Yeah.
$80,000 there, but we have a $61,000 grant that was able to be paid. And
We still haven't received a grant yet.
Right, and there's a matching part to that grant too. So instead of the 80, maybe you just take out the 6 to 10,000.
Yeah.
Okay, this time I'll open it up to the public for comment on ordinance number 12 of 2024. This portion of the public is only ordinance number 12 of 2024. Would anybody like to comment?
Hopefully I won't make any long statements tonight. My name is Bob DiOrio from Seville. In February of 2023, Upper Township Committee introduced a $3.5 million bond ordinance. This helped to ensure a small tax increase when the 2023 budget was introduced. In 2024, another small tax increase, and Township Committee is passing another bond ordinance, this time for $3.7 million. We will be over $7 million plus interest in new debt. We will be paying on this debt for at least 10 years to come. This is the same as a yearly tax increase. Upper Township has raised taxes 68% in 8 years. When the dust clears and after school and county taxes this year, we could be over 75% tax increases in 9 years. This does not include the $7.2 million in new debt. And on a related note, at the May 22nd, 2023 Township meeting, County Commissioner Desiderio presented the Township with the big check $400,000 in federal grant money earmarked for infrastructure repairs. We never received any of the money. Those funds are being used to extend the sewers to the north end of Sea Isle City. How many other municipalities have not received the federal grant money? And ask yourself one final question. How does a township that raises taxes every year suddenly grow its reserve fund so quickly? Thank you for my 5 minutes, and I hope none of it was false.
Thank you. Anybody else to comment on ordinance number 12 of 2024? Hearing none, I'll close the public portion on the ordinance, public hearing portion of the ordinance, and entertain a motion to adopt.
Move we adopt ordinance number 12, 2024.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Pankos?
Yes.
Mayor Newman?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Before we move on, Bob, part of the question about the check accounting, that was deposited in our general fund.
We have to spend the money first and then be reimbursed by the county.
And that can only be used for,
Whatever the purpose is for the grant. And I believe that we changed the purpose of the grant.
Yes.
So we have to spend the money first and then apply to, show the proof to the county, and then we will be reimbursed.
The money's still there.
the money's still there.
Correct.
It's not being used to expand sewer lines. Okay.
Under resolution to be acted on separately, a resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Upper, County of Cape May, New Jersey, authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $8 million of general obligation bonds, Series 2024 of the Township of Upper, County of Cape May, New Jersey, making certain covenants to maintain the exemption of the interest on said bonds from federal income taxation, and authorizing such further actions and making such determinations as may be necessary or appropriate to effectuate the issuance and sale of the bonds.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Pankos?
Yes.
Mayor Newman?
Yes.
Motion carried. Under new business, we have meeting procedures.
Okay, this is what we discussed at last meeting at the request of one of the, I think it's Barbara Murphy. So that we change our meeting procedures to allow for public comment prior to the resolutions. I think, but only on the resolutions. But only on the resolutions. So I understand that, and this is obviously my opinion, and everybody else can have their own. And I think, and I'm trying not to put words or take them out of your mouth, brother. You said something about the school board allows comment prior to resolutions. However, we're not a school board. They run differently. It's a different operation over there. And I just kind of want to, to me, I want to say this is, and I get where you're coming from in the means of transparency. So a lot of these items that are on here are personnel issues that we're not going to discuss with you or comment, regardless of what they are. A lot of them are contract negotiations, and we're not going to negotiate contracts in public. That just does not work. Anybody will tell you that. And there's specific ordinances and, state laws that allow for us to do this. And everything is done with the full knowledge of the board and the attorneys, and in most cases, a lot of times the people that are involved. And for example, I'm looking at this month's or this meeting's agenda, adopting revisions to the personnel policies and procedures manual. We're not saying anything about that. The next two are personnel issues. Actually 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 personnel issues. Then there's a contract that's awarded. And all this stuff is available online after the resolutions are made. In addition to, there's the resolutions, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Monzo, if something comes up that says this was the wrong thing to do, we can turn it around. It's it's fairly easy to do, to turn the resolution around by adopting another resolution to correct it.
Well, for instance, a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract, until adopted, the contract is still a negotiated document that could
Yes.
change. So there are things that may not be adopted that, if you don't get the requisite number of committee members voting on something, and go back to a negotiation standpoint. So it is something that would not be public. And the whole purpose, I just want to comment on this, the Open Public Meetings Act gives every member of the public an opportunity to comment on anything. The resolutions that are listed pretty much spell out what they are. And it makes no sense for somebody to comment on a resolution because they can do that at any time. And by opening a meeting up and allowing a question and answer session on resolutions that have not yet been adopted, to me, could cross the line in terms of getting into contract negotiations or otherwise just slow down the meeting. And after the meeting is over and the resolutions are adopted, it's all public information and they can view it and they can comment on it at any time during public comment period. So I think what's being asked is beyond what the Open Public Meetings Act requires. Now, that's not to say you can't go above and beyond that. It's totally within the discretion of the committee to expand on procedures that allow for questions if you choose to, but understanding that there may be limits as to what you can say in response to those questions based on what it is they're asking.
And instead of having two open public comments, what if we just move the one we have now to, and just feel satisfied? Instead of having two, just move this one before that.
We did that before. I remember doing that before. And I don't know why we moved it. That was years ago on our prior license committee.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah. I mean, I don't think it hurts, and, yeah, the school board does it, and I think there's other municipalities that do it. I think, yeah, there would not be a lot we can comment on, but I think in the interest of transparency, I think it would be a good thing.
What did you say, Mark? To just move
And just move the public comment portion to the beginning instead
to
of
the beginning? Yeah.
After the administrator review.
After all of our reports, right before we do the resolution, maybe we put it there.
But I believe the request was not to comment on it, but to ask questions about what you're voting on.
That's just
We wouldn't be able to answer.
Well, some of them we could ask. I mean, somebody might ask, authorizing payments from Affordable Housing Trust Fund. How much are we sending out? Where is it going? I mean, some of that, if it's going to somebody personally, we might not be able to divulge that information if they apply for it and never receive it. But, I mean, it's, in the interest of transparency, I don't think it would be a bad thing.
I get where you're coming from, but maybe we'll try going to the front of the meeting.
Yeah.
So we can give that a shot.
Yeah.
See what goes from there. So once again, and I think we've reiterated before, it's not, I don't want to say we're not being transparent, but there are so many things that we cannot comment on. Anything that is enacted up here is especially with personnel, I know with contract issues, anything that's enacted up here is obviously we can comment on and we can receive comment on. But I don't want it to become a town hall. This is we're back and forth where answers are, demanded and we can't provide them because we can't provide the information by law or we don't know the information.
Before you put the township at risk, everybody wants to talk about taxes, but you have to consider legal fees as part of that. So when we speak from this dais, we're not speaking with our personal voice, we're speaking from the office. So the office and the representation of the township, you have to be careful that you don't say something that puts the township in jeopardy. But, I don't see any reason why we couldn't just move it to the front and let everybody have an opportunity.
We can give that a try. If we want to, Joanne, for our next meeting, we can put that in front of the
For the consent
resolutions.
agenda.
We need to change don't we adopt our
The placement of the public comment isn't in the meeting procedures
We can,
resolution.
We can do that.
We can change the order of the agenda at the discretion of the township committee. Yep.
Yeah, we pulled that out of there. Yeah, that's us.
2 stars.
Okay, moving on, Joanne?
Number 25, the South Shore Stitchers, Inc., request to hold a raffle, RA 578, at the Upper Township Community Center on November 23rd, 2024.
I move we approve this. This is something that they've done many times in the past, and not that it would be anticipated, but they also have donated funds to our recreation trust fund from this as well. So they're always a good community partner. So motion to approve.
Second.
Call roll?
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Pankos?
Yes.
Mayor Newman?
Yes.
Motion carried. 26, Order of Eastern Star Shekinah, Chapter Number 82 of New Jersey, request to hold raffles RA 579 and RA 580 at the Tuckahoe Inn, 1 Harbor Road, Memorial, on October 16th, 2024.
Move we approve this.
Second.
Call roll, please?
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Pankos?
Yes.
Mayor Newman?
Yes.
Motion carried. And then 27, we have the SDL Computer Management, SDL Computer Management Program for the Construction Office.
What's that all?
This was born out of two things. One is another unfunded mandate, as the board likes to say, and so it requires certain computer aspects to our current system that doesn't exist. The second one is we had a recommendation from the auditors relative to trying to change some procedures in the calculation, or what happened, what do they call it?
There were certain items that the auditors picked up that are flawed in our software system.
So I'd like to continue to work with IT Pankos and come up with this SDL seems to be the forefront of the new systems that the municipalities are using. So one, to control some of the anomalies that were being identified by Fort Scott Kennedy, and also to implement some of the new policies and the new procedures that the construction office is going to be mandated to do. So SDL is the forefront in the county, and when it comes to Mark's eye relative to how many user licenses and how much we want to expand it, but it definitely has to go on the radar now. The initial costs were about 20 grand or so, but then it becomes user fees and different components or whatever we call it. But that's what it's doing.
So you're just moving forward. This isn't, what are we looking for with this?
I'm going to look for your okay, and then if it's good again, we'll put it on the consent agenda, or we'll bring it back to committee for you.
This doesn't have to come before Township Committee for approval. If they wish, it can, but it's not something that's required for Township Committee to approve.
So
We can bring it back.
we put it on a resolution.
Bring it back.
Speak about it.
Yep. Get a little more explanation to it.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? That's good. I think you can go ahead and move forward with that. General consensus up here. Pleasure on the bills.
Hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated in full in the minutes of this meeting.
Second. Call roll, please.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Pankos?
Yes.
Mayor Newman?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, at this time, the public is invited to address the Township Committee. Anybody from the public wishes to speak, please do so.
Natalie Neese, Block 47629. I wasn't here at the last meeting. I'm not really sure where I want to start, but since I know I only have 5 minutes, I heard a lot tonight that I really didn't expect to hear. I've been coming to township meetings, committee meetings, planning meetings, zoning meetings, county meetings, 25 years. And I think the first thing I'm going to say is item number 10, the change for Elizabeth Oates, the zoning officer The second thing I'd like to say is, Block 566, Lot 1. I have some papers with me. I believe that's 10.14 acres of land. 1369 Old Stagecoach Road, Claremont, the senior center. I guess that's the same thing as notice for contract negotiation under a closed session. I'd also like to say, tonight I want to speak my appreciation, my gratitude for Gary DeMarzo. 3 years. It's now a pleasure to come into township offices with my concerns. The employee demeanor has changed. The tension is gone. A lot of good things are happening in the township. Most recently, I'd like to speak to Gary. I requested to visit the senior center, and didn't take long. There was a meeting in Ms. Hayes. I was welcomed and spoke with you, and my concerns, issues have been quickly resolved, and I really appreciate that. Gary has always been forthright up front with me, has an open door policy. It's a lot easier, a lot less tension, and I find I don't have to many times come out and sit at these meetings, and I can try and review them on YouTube or whatever you call it, and I really appreciate that. The issue that I heard Mr. Monzo speak to tonight, it has me a good bit concerned. And I know, Mr. Monzo, you weren't here, about 5-10 years ago, but my background in land planning in Pennsylvania and state agriculture land, I got involved in this township with the master plan. And years ago, when it used to be 10-year plans or 7-year plans, then it went to the 10 years. It seemed that things were more open to the public. There was more input and more knowledge to the public of what was going on. And I think this redevelopment comes under that master plan. And I believe that that's done by the planning board typically, and then submitted to the township committee. So there's not a whole lot that's available to the community unless people are really aware and take the time and understand to read the master plan and how informative it is. And I think it's unfortunate. And growing up in the 50s and 60s here, I remember my parents, it was our summer home, and the BL England plan. The word that, I was out in a lot of meetings, especially with the gas lines, and then with the turbines, not the windmills, but the turbines came about. Orsted, I think, changed their name from Orsted to Atlantic Shores, and they have now moved from the Upper Township area under this redevelopment to Egg Harbor and Atlantic City, and their plans are all in the making before people ever really understand what's going on, and it's unfortunate, and it's caused a lot of the word illegal or whatever. But I heard out there too that 350 acres of our land was sold for $10 because of the contamination. That plant was contaminated, the BL England site. There was a lot going on. I heard a lot of experts speak over the years. I participated in a lot of meetings, went to the Pinelands, a lot, and a lot of it was over my head. And I understand Mr. Monzo wanted to say what he said tonight, but maybe if the township, I don't know if the word's forthright or whatever, but somehow, survey or make people more aware or have some kind of meeting groups, something that the people can find out what's really going on so that they can participate and they don't have to stand here and, say so-called illegal things or whatever and be reprimanded in the public eye.
Well,
So I,
The BL Inland plant was sold, you're right, and it was sold for more than $10. And it is polluted or contamination, and it is being remediated, and it will be remediated before anything's built.
well, I also heard that that's where our so-called telehousing is going too. And, I don't think a whole lot of people understand that either, and that would take way more than my 5 minutes. But, I also mentioned State Yard, which is 200 foot from the Misty Meadows, that is a contaminated site by the state for the air, the soil, and the water. And that really bothers me because I have an adjoining property line to that farm.
Any project being built in Upper Township or anywhere in the state of New Jersey is subject to affordable housing or co-obligation.
Right, but township planning and zoning has oversight, and it's very costly to go through variance hearings. You need to hire engineers, surveyors.
Yes, they do.
The general public really doesn't understand it. So,
There will be many public hearings for anything that's built at BL Inland.
and what about the Mr. Meadows sheep place? It was actually a pig farm. It wasn't a sheep farm, it was a pig farm. I understand that's up for sale.
Yes,
It has been for a couple of years. And it's the only animal farm in the county.
Thank you, Natalie. Anybody else under the public portion? Make comment to the township committee.
Seth Pashley, Palermo. I have 2 questions. And this is kind of the reasoning why we need public comment before agenda items. Who is responsible for the agenda each committee meeting? Who formulates it? How it gets on the paper? And in regards to item 30 on the agenda, why is the township trying to add or change our business administrator's title to keyboarding clerk? Can you please share your reasoning behind this with us? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public?
Yeah, how you doing? My name is Lou Barbuto. I live in Petersburg, and I heard this gentleman go through a litany of things, and one of them was open space. Could you expound upon that?
Well, okay, I think the only open space grant applications, that's all we did was apply for some county open space grants.
Okay, I thought there would be, is this for like a question that would be on the ballot in the future, or?
No, we are applying to the County Open Space Board for money to, it says skate park improvements at Amanda's Field.
Oh, okay, so it's basically you're improving the skate park. And
No,
that's,
we're applying for the money to do it.
oh, okay,
If the grant's not approved, the project does not get done.
okay. And out of everybody here, I'm a member of the senior center, and Mr. DeMarzo is the only one I've seen who's come and observed the building, and thank you very much.
Anybody else in the public? Please state your name and town of residence for the record.
Fran Newman on Beasley's Point.
Thank you.
A lot of comments have been brought up about comparing the school board meetings to the township meetings. The school board meeting has 2 public comments. I just came from one. The first board comment is about things on the agenda. It's not a question and answer. You can express your concerns, want clarification. Prior to that, our superintendent gives a brief report of things that may clarify things on the agenda. It is not a question and answer session. It is, you can ask anything on the agenda, but as you stated, if it's personnel, we can't answer. If it has anything to do with Litigation, we can't answer. So the clarification on the first part is agenda items only. The second public comment at the end of the meeting can be on anything you want to talk about. We have a 3-minute time limit. It is not a question and answer session. You can say, thank you for the great work that you did this summer, thanks for fixing the air conditioning, or whatever, the grass needs to be cut. That is the time for when people can come up and talk about things that are not on the agenda. So if we are not, as you guys are not talking about specific things on the agenda, you can ask for clarification, and if the superintendent or the business administrator so chooses to do that, we can after the vote. Prior to, like I said, the superintendent will do a brief overview of things that may be of question. But those are the 2 comments that the school board has, and we've had it. I've been on for 25 years. It's always been the same.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time's up.
Good evening. Chris Wright, Petersburg. I want to address a certain thing, but then my point. The senior center air conditioning. One of the first things that Ms. Hayes addressed, it's done, great, we can move them back there, awesome, but I want to come back to the June 24th meeting of that. It was discussed that we were going to have additional bids in and so on and so forth, when the truth of the matter was it was already awarded and it was in progress. So my comment is just be honest with us. Why sit there and play a charade of we're going to do this, we're going to do that, when it's already done? Little things like that, when we can figure out it's not the truth, we're going to question everything. So just be honest with us. Thank you.
So I wasn't present for the June 24th meeting, so I apologize. We did have a bid on file that we had to use to apply for the grant. So prior to the system breaking, we had already had a bid on file that we used to apply for the grant funding, because in order to be able to apply for enough money, you have to know what it's going to cost. So that's really how, and then we went into an emergency procedure. There was no, I can't speak to what was said in the meeting, but I can tell you that the bid that we had was a local purveyor that we had on file that we had used to apply for the grant prior to the system going down again.
Right, it's not about the bid, it's not about the emergency. It was the fact that it was said at the meeting that it was not given yet, and I believe Mr. Corson asked that additional bids were taken in for a couple of days, and it was all played out.
It wasn't said by me.
No, you weren't. No, you started.
I just want to be clear that I did not give you that information. There was no, I don't have the sequel, I wasn't even here.
No,
So
you
to be
started
very clear,
the
it wasn't my name.
What,
saying it was done.
we did get other quotes. The contractor did start the job prior to the bid being awarded. He was actually told to stop the job, if I remember correctly. And we did by Wednesday get other quotes, and then circled back and it did award it to him because he was
I don't have a problem with who got it.
doing what we were
It was
doing.
just that it was already in progress
It was-
when it was presented.
Let me clarify. I gave the order that Thursday to start the job. I deemed it an emergency as the appointing appropriate authority. It started. That's it. It's an emergency. It's a health and welfare safety. Once it's done, people second guess it till death. That's what happens. So they started second guessing the emergency. But the emergency was already in progress. And the work was already in progress. That Thursday, when it went down.
Prior to the meeting.
Yes, prior to the meeting.
Why not just say that?
Because, well, first of all, I don't know if it was not transmitted with clarity. I don't know. But what we have to do through procedure, through the emergency procedure, is then put 2 resolutions at the next meeting appropriating the action. And that's what we did. There was some question that maybe the bids were erroneous, maybe the bids were not. We got 2 other bids, and they were right within the ballpark. And the work continued the following day.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with amount, it has nothing to do with emergency. It's just presented like bids were still being taken when it was already
Quotes were
begun.
being taken just to validate that the quotes were accurate. But that Thursday, prior to the meeting, once an emergency is deemed, that's it. Somebody carries the football and you run towards the goal line. It has anything second guessing, anything administrative wise, anything within the resolutions, doesn't matter anymore. We have the law, the right, and the ability to move that emergency forward. Same thing happened with the city of Wildwood with 2 major water breaks. They may have gotten 2 bids after it, but those water breaks had to be shut down and had to be repaired. We did the same thing. I gave the order, and the order was carried out. It was health and welfare. It was within the guidelines. If the board was being cautious to make sure that it was the right bid, if the board was being cautious to make sure that the bid wasn't inflated, that's the board's choice. If the procedure within that week, you're talking Thursday to Monday now. That's all I had the window to put this together. Somebody asked who does the agendas. The group does the agendas. The mayor puts it on the board, on the agenda, and then it gets transmitted, and Mrs. Howard puts it out to the public. It was an emergency.
I get the emergency part. I just don't understand why it wasn't just said, it's an emergency, we've hired a contractor, the contractor has materials ordered, and the job in progress, period. Because
I thought that was with clarity.
We talk about transparency and honesty, and just it seemed like we played around with it like
There was no blame.
there were still bids being gotten when you had the contractor.
And the word bid is inaccurate. It's a quote. There was no bids
Both
necessary.
words were used, yes.
It's a quote. The vote was received prior. The system failed. Thursday, I gave the order. Public Works and Public Works made the calls to the initial gentleman that had the quote, had the bid. My apologies.
Like I said, both words were used.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a point of clarification. The air conditioning was an emergency in 2023, not 2024. Okay?
How many times could we get away with?
Barbara Leary, Seville. First of all, I want to say thank you for putting number 24 under new business for meeting procedures. I appreciate you discussing it. And I really appreciate Mrs. Newman's clarification of exactly what I had intended.
I had no idea she was coming here.
I
didn't
think it's
approve it.
wonderful that she came, because basically that's the ideal situation, is having an opportunity beginning to get clarification about consent agenda items. It's not a question, I don't even need to repeat it. She said it perfectly. And then having a public comment at the end. Middle Township has that procedure in their committee agendas. Wildwood, and Gary, you and I had talked about this via email. When you were mayor, that was part of the way it was done. There was questions about consent agenda items ahead of time for clarification. So that is the ideal situation. And in that email correspondence, Mr. Monzo did reply, it's at the discretion of the committee whether or not to do it. So you could do clarification and public comments, which would be ideal. Just saying, it'd be ideal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll close the public portion of the meeting and have Minimum Pankos read those words.
Thank you, Mayor. I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Number 1, personnel. 2, potential litigation, Prescott Avenue. 3, contract negotiation, Block 566, Lot 1. I also include in my motion the estimated time and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. A, it is anticipated that matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. B, with respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. C, with respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality. D, with respect to litigation matters, such discussions will be made public when litigation is complete and the applicable appeal period has expired.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Pankos? Mayor Newman?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, take 2 or 3